Steele. Magnolias is a 1989 American comedy drama directed by Herbert Ross. It is the film adaptation of Robert Harling's 1987 play of the same name about the bond a group of women share surrounding the family experience during the death of the playwright's sister, Susan Harling Robinson, in 1985. The title suggests the main female characters can be both as delicate as the magnolia, and as tough as steel. Plot: Anil Dupee, a recent beauty school graduate, is hired by Trevi Jones to work in her home-based beauty salon. Mlaine Tenton and her daughter, Shelby, arrive at Trevi's to prepare for Shelby's wedding, which is taking place later that day. Clara Ray Belcher, the cheerful widow of the late mayor, arrives as well. While having her hair done, Shelby, who has type 1 diabetes, falls into a hypoglycemic state but recovers quickly after having some orange juice. Mlaine explains Shelby was recently informed by doctors that she should not have children because her body might not withstand childbirth. Later that afternoon, Eliza Boudreau arrives in the salon and questions Anil about her past, forcing Anil to reveal that her husband Bunky Dupee is a dangerous criminal on the run from the police. Moved by Anil's emotional confession, Shelby invites Anil to the wedding, where Anil meets Sammy. Several months pass and Shelby returns to town to celebrate Christmas. During the festivities, she announces that she and her husband Jackson Latry are expecting their first child. Shelby's father Drum is thrilled, but Mlaine is too worried to share in the joy. Even when Shelby confesses that she hopes the arrival of a baby might make her marriage a little easier, Mlaine is unable to rejoice. Shelby successfully delivers a baby boy, Jackson Jr., but begins showing signs of kidney failure and starts dialysis around the time Jackson Jr. turns 1. Mlaine successfully donates a kidney and Shelby seemingly resumes a normal life. Later, on Halloween, Eliza, Clara, Trevi, and Mlaine throw Anil a surprise wedding shower. Shelby is unavailable to attend, due to a conflicting schedule with her nursing job, and is later found unconscious on the porch of her house. Shelby is rushed to the hospital, where it's determined that her body rejected the new kidney, sending her into a coma. The doctors inform the family that Shelby is likely to remain comatose indefinitely, and her family and husband jointly decide to take her off life support. At the funeral, after the other mourners have left, Mlaine breaks down in hysterics in front of Eliza, Clara, Trevi, and Anil but is comforted by the other women. Later, at the wake, Mlaine begins to accept her daughter's death and focuses her energy on helping Jackson raise Jackson Jr. Anil, who is now married and pregnant, asks Mlaine if she could name her own baby after Shelby, since Shelby was the reason Anil and her husband, Sammy, met. Mlaine agrees, and assures Anil that Shelby would love it. Months later, on Easter morning, Anil goes into labor during an Easter egg hunt, is rushed to the hospital by Trevi and her husband Spud, and another life begins. Cast, background. The original play described the experience of the family and friends of the play author Harling following the 1985 death of his sister from diabetic complications after the birth of his namesake nephew and failure of a family member-donated kidney. A writer friend continuously encouraged him to write it down in order to come to terms with the experience. He did, but originally as a short story for his nephew, the latter to get an understanding of the deceased mother. It eventually evolved in 10 days to the play. Production, released by TriStar Pictures in the United States on November 15, 1989 and grossed more than $83.7 million at the box office. Harling's first produced screenplay, he adapted the original film script which was then heavily rewritten beyond the on-stage one-set scenario of the stage production. The scenes increased and the sequence was more tightly linked with major holidays than the play. The increased characters beyond the all-original female play cast caused dialogue changes between on-screen characters. Natchitoches, Louisiana served as both the 1989 film location and scenario location with historian Robert DeBleur, a former Natchitoches mayor, as the local advisor. Reception: it received mixed to positive reviews and has 65% on Rotten Tomatoes. An example of a less enthusiastic critic was Hal Hinson of The Washington Post, who said that it felt more Hollywood than the South. An example of a more enthusiastic critic was Roger Ebert, who said that the film was willing to sacrifice its overall impact for individual moments of humor, and while that leaves us without much to take home, you've got to hand it to them, the moments work. The movie received a limited release on November 15, 1989, entered the U.S. box office at number 4 with an opening weekend gross of $5,425,440. By the time of wider release 2 days later it grossed $15,643,935. Stayed in the top 10 for 16 weeks, gross $83,759,091 domestically with a further $12,145,000 with foreign markets giving a worldwide gross of $95,904,091. Home media. The film was released on VHS on June 19, 1990 and on DVD July 25, 2000, allowing the film to gross a further $40 million. The movie's overall gross was $135,904,091. The film was released on Blu-ray through the boutique label, Twilight Time, on September 11, 2012. Awards and nominations. Julia Roberts' first ever AMPAS nomination losing to Brenda Fricker. Adaptation, television. CBS broadcast on August 17, 1990 a 2-hour television pilot sitcom sans Shelby's character as the storyline was post-death. The cast, Cindy Williams as Ma unregistered trademark Lynn, Sally Kirkland as Trevi, Elaine Stritch as Eliza, Polly Bergon as Clara Ray and Sheila McCarthy as Annal. CBS cancelled further broadcast. Remake 2012. Lifetime Television Network announced a planned remake under the direction of Kenny Leon, director of the ABC movie A Raisin in the Sun, set in Louisiana featuring lead-role black actors, Queen Latifah, Jill Scott, Alf Woodard, Philizah Rashidi, Adipa Oduai and Condola Rashidi. The New York Times had mixed reactions, applauded it on some points and on others either schmaltz or less attentive than the 1989 film. See also, List of films featuring diabetes, lists of films, references. External links, Steel Magnolias at the Internet Movie Database, Diabetes in the Movies,